Hi, welcome to the Active Self Protection Extra channel. Today, let's talk with Jamie Green, a phenomenal instructor from down south in the USA. And we're going to talk about Jack and the Box.
Palm pepper spray has recently reformulated for even more effect when you bless the deserving with the hot sauce. Palm is what I use between a harsh word and a gun and encourage everyone to do likewise.
Welcome back. So, Miss Jamie, I would like to ask you, you have a phenomenally wonderful way of helping students understand what those knobs on the top of their pistols are. One at the front and one toward the rear. Would you tell us a little bit about that and how did you come to the point that you describe Jack the way you do?
I think it was just a progression. I would always refer to the rear sight as a box, and I lay my finger up across the top of it and encourage the student to bring the front sight into the box. But I think it has to go beyond that because we have to keep the front sight in the box until the gun goes boom. So all during that trigger press, when we're potentially moving the gun, we've got to keep that front sight in that rear sight. So somehow, someday I was teaching and it just clicked. And I said, like Jack in the Box. And all of a sudden it took off and Jack is now the front sight and the rear sight is now the box. And I tell my students in classes, especially my beginner classes, that your job is to keep Jack in the box until you press the trigger and the gun goes boom. And we know that Jack will come out of the box because that's the way guns work. And you are not allowed to press the trigger again until what? And they start laughing and say, until Jack is back in the box. So it's a really fun way. I think the first student I ever used that with was really, really new to guns and was a little bit afraid. So she would repeat to herself, and that was before I even knew about neuro-linguistic programming, right?
Sure.
She would talk out loud and would say, I see Jack in the box. And it just was amazing how that helped her focus on that. So the more I started using it, it just seems to be something people can grab a hold of. And it feels more personal than front sight and rear sight. Guns are cold pieces of metal. So I equate as much as I can to daily things, a lot of car analogies. The triggers, the gas
Yes.
pedal, and all the things that go with the car. The magazine is the gas tank. The chamber is your fuel line. And when I teach safety, we talk about the fact that even though a car has an empty gas tank, as long as there's something in the fuel line, it will continue until that's empty. So we talk about those things. And then I always talk to them about how they press the trigger based on how they press the gas pedal on their car and what is the desired outcome if you're holding a hot cup of coffee and how not to burn yourself. So I think that makes things easier to absorb and it makes it not be quite so scary when we can use things that we're familiar with. And Jack in the Box is fun for people. And now I'm finding that the newer young people have to stretch a little to figure out about Jack in the Box. Maybe haven't heard of it, but it's when we talk about it and we sing the silly song, the music, they get it. And it's just a great point of reference because I can say, do you know where Jack was when you press the trigger? And they have to think about it. So it helps them, I think, develop a relationship with their gun. And I think that's important. If it's something we're going to use a lot, we need to know it inside out. And that makes it feel better to us. It evokes good memories and good feelings. So Jack in the Box was born.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want to show your patch here so everyone can see that. So this is the patch that you have made. Who do you give your patch out to?
Mostly in my beginning handgun class, those students usually leave with a Jack in the Box patch. And my husband works for the Boy Scouts, so patches are a big deal. And
They
when he
are.
saw how successful that was, he said, oh, you need a patch. So he, on his own, designed that patch and worked with the patch company and surprised me with it. So that's kind of
Oh,
fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I got to tell you, Miss Jamie, since learning that terminology from you, the amount of time that you have shaved off, the amount of time it used to take me to describe the movement. I apparently Gabe White does this. I haven't trained with him yet, but to me, it always made sense to refer to the sighting system and then it being over the target as a movie picture
Right.
because like the Steamboat Mickey and it's an individual
Sure.
drawing, but it changes constantly.
Right.
It's not just one picture holding still. But to be able to tell people, just this last weekend, I was able to say okay, everyone, this is Jack and this is his box. And now these are people that had been shooting before, but they instantly got it. And
Yeah,
then we're able to talk about, when is it okay to press the trigger? Well, once
right,
Jack is in his box. And then
right.
there might be situations where, as long as we can see Jack superimposed over the target, uh, then we can press the trigger then.
Sure.
So,
That's right.
what a great way. So, I use
Mhm.
it all the time. I
Oh,
quote
I'm
you
glad. I'm so
all the
glad.
time.
So do
I
I. And
love it.
I'm glad it really works. That's fun.
Oh, it does. I hope we can change the training industry. I have a question for you. So, what do you think about folks? I haven't prompted you with this either, so this may go well or not well. We'll see how it goes. Either
You'll
way, we
see.
can take care of it. But so, what do you think of the folks that say, um, "Oh, don't give a name to something that already has a name," or don't? I describe it as having your flip off finger and nose picking finger making contact with the bottom of the trigger guard for my brand new shooters. And everybody knows what two fingers those are. But every now and then, some curmudgeon will say, don't call it something it isn't. Just say you want to have a grip that's, secures the gun and completely wraps around the grip, which isn't wrong. What do you say to people who say, well, don't call it Jack in the Box, just call it front rear sight?
I think it's important that that person understands that I don't think like they do. Just like we give nicknames to things, we shorten names of things. It has to resonate with me for me to remember it and to embrace it. And that's why we have all of the nicknames and all the things that we have in the industry. In life in general, I think, not just necessarily the industry. So that would be my answer to that person. You meet me where I am. Don't make me come to you, because it may not work for me. And we just have to find ways that help people associate and remember. And especially if they're brand new, and when we give formal terms, it's like going to the doctor. And if he gives you this big long diagnosis, instead of saying you have tonsillitis, which is easier to remember, right? The big long diagnosis or tonsillitis. Well, that's pretty obvious. Another reason I name my guns. I have a gun named Kevin. I have students go into the gun store and ask the people behind the counter for a Kevin. Now, Kevin is Kevin's official terminology is a Walther PPQ 22 LR. How easy is it to remember Kevin versus all the words? And the guys at the gun store actually do know what model Kevin is, so you can help those
Because
people.
you've sent enough students to them.
Exactly. Yes, I do help them sell a lot of guns, but I think those are the things that we have to be wary of. Doing it my way might not be the way. There are it's more than one way to approach a problem. And I think those people who feel like we need to stay inside this tiny little box are missing out on great opportunities to help people, because they've got the knowledge. They just have to be able to give it in a way that it can be received by the person and remembered.
Yeah. Yeah. And to make it relatable also. I think that
Absolutely.
helps a lot with our students as well. I had
Absolutely.
another question for you, but it just left my mind. So I guess oh, I know, just came back. Are there any other terms or phrases you use to help your students build a bridge between where they are and where they want to be?
I think using the car analogies with the gun is all the
Yep.
parts and pieces
That's
interchanged,
awesome.
because everybody drives for the most part. Where I live, especially because we don't have mass transit, it's really not a thing. So everybody drives. And when people tell me that they're concerned about learning to shoot, I look at them and say, you drive a car, I can teach you how to shoot a gun, because it's
Oh,
much
I
more
love that.
simple. And I
Yes.
remind them that when you first learned to drive, you didn't get in your car and go 90 miles an hour down the road, drinking a Coke and messing with the radio and setting the air conditioning and all the things we do. And if you're a mom whacking the kids, stop, stop. We didn't do that the first time we stepped in. And I want people to be comfortable and recognize that they are not driving 90, they're driving 40, and they will get to 90. They just have to be comfortable. The other thing I like to do with new students is use an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that has a black dot on it. It has no numbers, and it's strictly that dot's point of reference. And when they finish shooting that, instead of that big whatever that 20 by whatever target is, I will
Right.
generally take it off and put it like on the body or somewhere else, and say, do you see how much tighter your pattern was than you really felt like it was, because you were looking at this huge piece of paper and you just felt like it
Oh,
was
I love
everything.
that.
So I think that gives them a tangible thing to look at, and they aren't trying to score it, or it's you're on this piece of paper. That's what I asked from you, and you did it. So you won. And then they always get to take that home with them, and it's something small besides that great big Target thing you gave them. Who's going to store that? I don't have anywhere to put that. But a piece of typing paper, I can put that somewhere. So the front door,
Oh,
the refrigerator, one of those things.
yeah.
But so I think those things, any way that I can make a student feel more comfortable and competent and capable, that's what I'm after as an instructor, helping them understand they can do this. You can drive a car, you can run a gun.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. One of the many, many things I appreciate you, Miss Jamie, is that Tiffany Johnson talks about to broaden the two-way tent to bring more people into this community. Um, it's not about meeting them halfway. It's about meeting them maybe all the way, meeting them where they
Yes,
are. At the very
absolutely.
least, going 60% of the way, right?
Mhm.
But I just love that you're a gate opener. You're not a gatekeeper. You're a
I
gate
hope
opener.
so.
You're opening the gate and looking through that gate with so many new people. So, well,
Yeah.
thanks for your time, Miss Jamie. I
Oh, you're
appreciate
so
learning about
welcome.
the words you use and the ways you describe it to your students. So, thanks for joining us today.
You are so welcome. Thank you.